Welcome to Walk It Out Wednesday. This is Pastor Pete Flores. I just wanted to take some time to sit down with you, and today I have a special guest with us, Isaac Shelton from Tabernacle Church, someone that I have come to know over the last 7 years as we've just been fellowshipping in Defiance with a great group of pastors, and just some things that happen behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see. We're praying for your city, we're praying for your wants, and we're praying for your needs, and sometimes we're even crying, much like Jesus when he stood over the city, and he just said that he wept over the city because he knew it was missing something. It was missing him. I wanted to get into a previous conversation that me and Isaac had previously, and it goes over Jesus sitting down with the 12, and it's the third time that he tells them that he's going to the cross, and they're still not getting it. You ever have that time in your life where you just don't get it? Jesus is literally right there telling you verbatim what is about to go down, but you just don't get it. So this conversation in Matthew 26, what's taking place here is that Jesus is telling them that somebody is going to betray them. And a lot of times we'll react in a way where we're pointing at our brothers and sisters in Christ and saying, surely it's you. It's got to be you. It's got to be that guy over there. But the way they respond, they say, and the Lord, and they were exceedingly sorrowful because they checked themselves and they said, Lord, is it I? And we had this conversation previously, and I like the way you kind of brought it up. So go ahead and just kind of share on that.
The thing that I love about the disciples and just the rawness and just the realness of that moment is in the moment where Jesus says that one will betray me, no one turns at the table and points the finger at Judas and said, we knew all along it was you. We knew that you have been a liar. You've been doing things behind the scenes. You have been, you're the one's been always dragging us down. You're the one that, sitting on the back row of the church, leaving early. You're the one that when Jesus performs a miracle, you're the one in the back row saying, did he really do that? Or was it sleight of hand? Was it trickery? Nobody pointed fingers at Judas, but all of them said, is it I? And I've always found it fascinating because the disciples have come to this point in the road after 3.5 years and realized the weaknesses in themselves. And I think how often we don't recognize the weaknesses in ourselves, but we are quick to point out all the weaknesses of everybody else. And the disciples are realizing, whether it's James and John, when they're ready to call down fire from heaven, and Jesus says, you don't even know what spirit you are of. And it's in that moment they recognize their own weaknesses. Right. It's when they're trying to figure out who's going to be sitting in high places, and Jesus says, you guys don't even know what you're talking about. That if you want to be great, you must be a servant first. Or whether it's those who had doubts whether he could feed the thousands with 5 loaves and 2 fish, or whether he could really raise Lazarus because, Lord, he stinks if we remove the stone. All the disciples are realizing over the span of time, or whether they're in the boat and they're all fearing for their life, even though Jesus told them, I will meet you on the other side.
Amen. Right.
But in the middle of a storm, just like in our own lives, in our own storms and difficulties of life, we take the promises of God, and maybe we're not near as believing or have faith in these moments that we may have them in others. And so we are quick to point fingers at everybody else and say, it probably is you. You're going to be the one to walk away. You're going to be the weak link. You're going to be the one that drags us down. But yet in that moment, the disciples are saying, it's probably me. It's probably me. And I think for us to recognize that in ourselves, our strength, Paul says, our strength only comes through Christ. It isn't through resumes, it's not abilities, it's not how much money you make, it's not the job that you work, it's not the car that you drive, it's not how good looking you might be or the style of clothes that you have on, but every single one of us have weaknesses in ourselves that if we will overlook those and pretend that they're not there, those will be the very weaknesses that come to get us at some point in time, because every single person under the sound of our voice today, every single person is one situation or one circumstance or one difficulty from folding up, throwing in the towel, if not for Christ. And so all of us are in this space where the early church recognized the weaknesses in their own lives. And the reason that they so needed the Spirit of God and so needed the strength that only comes through the Spirit is because they all recognized that, you know what, if given the right instance, if a spouse dies, if money runs out, if I get fired from my job, that I may be one moment or one circumstance from just saying, I can't do this anymore.
Amen. Amen.
And so all of us, it
Right.
doesn't matter whether you're a pastor, it doesn't matter whether you're a leader, it doesn't matter whether you're a politician or you're just a single mom or single dad trying to take care of kids. It doesn't matter. All of us are in need of the same Christ. All of us are in need of the same grace. All of us are in need of the same Spirit, because all of us have the same weaknesses. But Paul says, but it's in these weaknesses that I find out how strong He really is.
Amen. Amen. And I like the way the 12 addressed that, because they could have bickered and split and disconnected from one another. And that's kind of what we do when we get in those situations where there's something wrong. But it was almost like, if there's something wrong, what can I fix? We're running as a group. We're running as a 12. We're running as a church. We're trying to do this as a family. And the ultimate thing is to overcome together, not fall apart and disconnect, because they knew that there was something bigger past the cross. They had to hold on, and they knew that if Jesus was going to leave, what else is left inside of me that needs to be gone? And I'll leave you with that. What else is left inside of you? And the only way that you can find out is if you are next to righteousness. If you are so close to righteousness and you're willing to take it with Him as far as He's going to go, He will expose what is left inside you that needs to be taken out. And then you can just sit there, much like Paul says, that I get up daily and examine myself. I examine myself not for my ugliness, but because I want to go into a circumstance, a situation, a group, a workplace, a church, whatever it is, and I want to be a blessing to that. Right. And that's what we want to see for you. In this city, the neighboring cities, for the world at large, we just want you to be a blessing moving forward. Pastor Pete Flores, Walk It Out Wednesday. Be blessed.